So Elon got a send-off from the White House today, from the Oval Office. Am I understanding that correctly? The reason Elon is upset, right, is his claim is that Trump's budget bill doesn't codify the budget cuts that Doge did. Now, the budget cuts that Doge did are overwhelmingly fake. Like, they're not real. The government's already borrowing more money than it did last year. It's not real. What he's upset about is that they didn't codify like the personnel cuts, at least not all of them, that Doge engaged in. But then, so this is from yesterday. So today, Trump had him in the Oval Office, even though Elon criticized him the previous day. Maybe nobody told Trump.
Is there a growing rift between President Trump and his one-time first friend, Elon Musk? The SpaceX and Tesla CEO expressed his disappointment with the president's sweeping tax and spending bill that passed the House and is currently facing some headwinds in the Senate. This is what Musk told CBS News.
I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the Doge team is doing. I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both.
All right, with us now, Amisha Cross, the Democratic strategist, and Mark Short, the former chief of staff.
It's so up that the deficit hawks are correct about this bill. Like, obviously their solution to it is just like cutting more Medicaid or cutting more personnel or whatever. It is very funny though that like we've arrived at an intersection where you have groups being wrong in two directions and groups being like right in two directions. The deficit is out of control. And it's gonna get a lot worse. It's gonna get so much worse. Give me that full blurb, and then I want to take a look at the press conference they held today, where Elon says his goodbyes to the White House. Didn't I just look at this? Give me the actual.
It's now official. Elon Musk is leaving.
But the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the Doge team is doing. I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful.
Okay, but I want to see the actual.
I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
My source on all of this tonight.
Well, okay, you're giving me clips. I'm trying to look at the actual. You know what? I don't even care. Just put the current press conference in the bag. That was yesterday. Today, Elon showed up at the White House. Apparently, he's got a black eye. He's got a shiner. Can I get some context on that? Working Twitter, maybe.
Mr. Musk, is your eye okay? What happened to you? Your eye? I noticed there's a fuse there.
Well, it wasn't. I wasn't anywhere near France, so. But no.
Sorry, I forgot that he was like this. I'm gonna punch my own ticket. Holy shit! Why the does he stand like this?
I didn't notice
about
the
the
first lady of France
getting slapped, you know.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, no, I was just horsing around with Lil X, and I said, "Go ahead, punch me in the face," and he did. Turns out, even a 5-year-old punching you in the face actually does.
That was X that did that?
Yeah,
X could do it. If you knew X,
I was with his mom right now. But I didn't really feel much at the time, and then I guess it bruises up. But I just horsed around with the kids.
I didn't
basically.
notice it actually.
Jesus Christ. Okay, well that's great.
An honor to be with Elon, who's my friend, and he's done a fantastic job. He didn't need this. He didn't need it. And we find out government's a little nasty on occasion. Hello, Peter.
Yeah, at times.
Hello, President Trump.
Government's a little bit nasty, Peter. You haven't noticed that. You've had a charmed life, right?
You tell me.
Very charmed. I think you've had a charmed life.
He was in a K-hole. I also can't access this because the quote that I was pulling from would have been from Twitter. But yeah, apparently Elon's drug use has been spiraling way the out of control lately. Oh, is Twitter working? Is Twitter working enough for me to see? How convenient. As Elon Musk became one of Donald J. Trump's closest allies last year, leading raucous rallies and donating about $275 million to help him win the presidency, he was also using drugs far more intensely than previously known, according to people familiar with his activities. Mr. Musk's drug consumption went well beyond occasional use. He told people he was taking so much ketamine, a powerful anesthetic, that it was affecting his bladder, a known effect of chronic use. He took ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms, and he traveled with a daily medication box that held about 20 pills, including ones with the markings of the stimulant Adderall, according to a photo of the box and people who have seen it. Nice. He really is a Nazi. Always methed up.
I think what I'll do, if you don't mind, numbers have just come out which are rather extraordinary, and I thought I'd play a tape of one of the people who I've respected over the years, from Joe Kiernan and Rick Santelli. This just came out, and we'll just play that for a second.
Personal income is up 0.8, up
0.8%. That is almost triple the expectations. I'll tell you that the income numbers, really, for the first 4 months of the year, they're stellar. They're really.
Why are we bragging about a graph that looks like this? I'm sorry, just like the idea of glazing the Trump administration while holding up a graph that looks like this is insanely funny to me.
Stellar. I mean, I could go back and look at the first 4 months of many different years. Really very strong numbers, and you're right. This administration is criticized for just about everything under the sun. I've never, ever in my lifetime had glimpses into the politics of an administration in the form of transparency like this one. Why don't we be, give credit where credit is due?
Is chat back?
I'm really shooting up.
Rick, I also thought everybody was going to get one last order of imports that were going to be tariffed, and they were loading up on things. How the hell they already fix the trade, or not fix it, but to cut it in half?
Thank you, White Nervosa.
That's crazy. So there wasn't a lot of front loading of things that they needed before the tariffs hit?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it really does call into question some of the conventional wisdoms. And, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next month when we get this number, or we see some of the other numbers like current account, see how they fared. Because I don't know, I've been watching these numbers a long time. I don't think I've ever seen the trade deficit cut in half in 1 month.
Who the are these people? The CNBC business types, I feel like they're almost as psychotic as the Fox business types. Trade deficit? Who the the trade deficit is not a relevant economic metric in the context of like the wellness of a country. We earn our trade deficit by being extremely wealthy.
Not bad. Not bad.
Come on, guys.
I do love that, like, rather than having an expert present information, the Oval Office press briefing begins with like, oh, here's a clip from a news show that said good things. Let's play that. Just bring a laptop forward, close all your other tabs. Jesus, it's like they're live streamers.
I see Howard and Scott are here, so it's great. You guys want to stand over here? You might as well. You're the ones that help produce those numbers, and it'll only get better. The tariffs are so important, and that's why we were so happy with the decision yesterday where the tariffs continue, because without the tariffs, our nation would be imperiled. We would really be imperiled. I think I can say that with great surety, Scott and Howard. And so we were very happy to get that decision, that big decision yesterday. And today it's about a man named Elon, and he's one of the greatest business leaders and innovators the world has ever produced. He stepped forward to put his very great talents into the service of our nation, and we appreciate it.
Remember when Trump was cognitively present enough that even a slight attack on him would lead to him shitting on you forever? And now Elon can criticize the Trump bill and just get into the Oval Office the next day and get complimented?
And I just want to say that Elon has worked tirelessly helping lead the most sweeping and consequential government reform program in generations. And the kinds of things that he's found and his people have found. He's brought a group of very smart people in, and they found things that are pretty unbelievable. I have to say that the numbers that we're talking about are substantial, but they're going to be very much more substantial with time, because many of the things that we're working on right now, we're going to have to remember Elon as we find them, but the numbers could double and triple because many things, we don't want to go out with them until we're sure, but we've found things that are unbelievably stupid and
dude, he's always high.
Unbelievably bad. With the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon's delivered a colossal change in the old ways of doing business in Washington. DOGE has installed geniuses with an engineering mindset and unbelievably talented people and computers. I actually asked Elon one time, what's their primary thing? And they have a lot of primary things, all having to do with being smart. But he said the thing that they're really the best at is...
All autistic people watching this, when you're standing around in public and you don't know what to do with your hands, you look exactly like this. And you should be self-conscious. The only way to fix this? Never go outside. That's just me helping you out.
Working with computers so that they can't be outsmarted by somebody that's not so honest, that happens to also be good with computers, but not as good as these people. But the mindset in the senior ranks of every federal department, and it's really changed. And with Elon's guidance, they're helping to detect fraud/waste and modernize broken and outdated systems. So as you know, we're talking about various systems and changing systems. And, sadly, it takes a long time to do that. You'll change, let's say, a system at IRS and computerize it properly where the job can be done in 1/10 the time, but it takes sometimes years to rebuild those systems. But we've started, in many cases, I will say that this has less to do with Elon, but the air traffic control systems, we're bidding out to the best companies in the world.
Where do you put your hands when you're standing around? I'm so I put them on my hips. I'm a big believer in like one hand on hip, one hand kind of like dangling down, like you're always ready to fondle some balls, or both hands in pockets and slouching forward a little bit for that like working class hunch, or if you're wearing jeans, you can do the thumbs in pockets, right? Like if you're doing more of like a Western thing, like a crop jacket tucked in button down, you've got some jeans on or whatever, you hook your thumbs into the pockets. You're looking fly.
And in the end, it didn't even come close to working. They tried to hook up wire to copper, and it can't be done. And they just spent billions of dollars and just wasted money. Actually made the system much worse. So we're going to get a brand new modern system. Congress is working with us on that, and we're going to get it done as quickly as we can. But it's in the works, and once it's done, it'll be good for 30 years. But we have a system that's 48 years old, and would have a modern computer hooked into a very outdated computer, and they don't hook up. I mean, they didn't hook up. So after spending billions of dollars, they turned on the system, and in never any cases, from local to countrywide, they never worked. More than 75,000 bureaucrats have voluntarily left their taxpayer-funded jobs to come out and really do the job. Countless wasteful and unnecessary contracts have been terminated, and you know that we have...
Guys, these are the sandcastles of democracy in the oligarchical high tide. Boink. Dumbasses. I'm just kidding. I wish the best for them. It's just a cute video. Don't worry about it, okay? Sorry. Saw that in the feed.
Terminated many contracts, and many contracts, Elon, are right now being looked at, and it may be 6 months, it may be almost a year in some cases. We're going through procedures, we're going through courts, and we'll remember you as we announce billions of dollars of extra waste, fraud, and abuse. Just as an example, Doge canceled $101 million for DEI contracts at the Department of Education, $101 million, and that was just a small section of the Department of Education. $59 million for illegal alien hotel rooms in New York City, and the landlord never made the kind of money that he made in the last short period of time. $59 million to a hotel in New York City, $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. Does anyone know about Burma? $42 million for social and behavioral change in Uganda. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. I can say it's $2 billion to Stacey Abrams and her environmental movement. There was $100 in the account, and all of a sudden they found $2 billion in the account. And I assume that's being looked at. I don't know.
There.
I'm not
That's
sure. I assume that's being looked at. Think of that, $2 billion. And then Lee will tell you there's another one over there for $20 billion being spent on another environmental cause. $20 billion, not 20 million, a lot, not 200,000, which is a lot. So think of it, in her case, you have $100, and now all of a sudden she gets hit with an infusion of $2 billion just before I take office. $20 million for Arab Sesame Street in the Middle East. Nobody knows what that's all about. Nobody's been able to find it. $8 million for making mice transgender. So they spend $8 million on making mice.
It really does make you appreciate how efficient the government must have been for there to be no cases of fraud that the DOJ has brought against anyone for any reason yet with regard to these cuts, and for them to keep reusing the same stories that they were talking about before Trump even won the election, you know? Like it unironically makes you appreciate like the federal bureaucrats that were distributing like money collected, actually, I think a lot of those people were actually pretty goddamn competent. I think the real money loss was where we put the money, like the Pentagon, and also like the fact that we have so many public-private partnerships. Genuinely, it seems like the reason we lose money at the seams is because of private capital.
Transgender, and those are better than many of the others. I could sit here all day and read things just like that, but we have other things to do. So it's much, much more than just that. We're totally committed to making the DOGE cuts permanent and stopping much more of the waste in the months to come. We want to get our great, big, beautiful bill finished and done. After that, we put some of this into the bill, but most of it's going to come later. We're going to have it cauterized by Congress, affirmed by Congress.
Not that it even matters anymore, but obviously he's lying about the trans mice. No, I know. The lies are hilarious and very obviously wrong, but it doesn't matter, right? It's one of the reasons why, if you're going to win in the future in this country, you have to understand, for one, policy is irrelevant, messaging is what matters, and capitulating to the right by being less progressive is worthless, because their standards of progressivism are moon logic. They'll just make shit up. It has no, you walking back your support for trans athletes, as, say, for example, Governor Newsom is doing, where he's opened up, I believe he's mandated the opening up of a third athletic category for trans people in schools, where they have their own trans category. It's male, female, and trans now. That will not win you any accolades with the Republicans, because then they'll just say you're doing it anyway. It doesn't matter. Reality does not matter. You need to stop playing the game when Republicans aren't playing the game either. They're not playing that game.
In some cases, we'll make cuts. In some cases, we'll just use it in a different layer to save the money. But it's hundreds of billions of dollars. DOGE has also fully modernized the federal retirement process and continues to work very hard on the IRS modernization. But we're taking that over with DOGE. Many of the DOGE people, Elon, are staying behind, too, so they're not leaving. And Elon's really not leaving. He's going to be back and forth, I think. I have a feeling. It's his baby, and I think he's going to be doing a lot of things. But Elon's service to America has been without comparison in modern history. He's already running one of the most innovative car companies in the world. You look at his factories and compare them with some of the old factories we have, and it's a big difference. And the most successful space company, and I guess in history you would have to say the largest free speech platform on the internet, etc. Yet Elon willingly, with all of the success, he willingly accepted the outrageous abuse and slander and lies and attacks, because he does love our country. I know that very much. He loves our country. He comes from another country, a country that's going through trials and tribulations, I would say. But he's all about the USA, and Americans owe him a great debt of gratitude. So I just want to thank Elon for his time as a special government employee. Can you imagine? They call him an employee, but it's a special government employee, and for coming and helping us. And he really has changed the mindset of a lot of people.
Why is Trump glazing Elon after Elon was talking shit? My guess is that no one told Trump he was talking shit. Genuinely.
A lot of people thought, maybe we'll cut 1% or 2% or 3%. Then they said, well, we can cut a lot more than that. And we're going to do it very surgically. We're going to continue on the march. We're making America great again. When I was in Saudi Arabia, and we were in, as you know, three really great countries, predominantly the three. Qatar was great, UAE was great, Saudi Arabia, incredible. Such an incredible experience to be in those three countries. But the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and I must tell you, the great leaders of the other two that we just mentioned, they all said the same thing, that the United States is the hottest country right now anywhere in the world. And 6 months ago, we thought it was dead. It was like a dead country. And it would have been a dead country if we didn't have the right result on November 5th. There would have been a horrible, horrible situation was going on with the borders, with transgender for everyone.
Have you seen, was it Mike Johnson who was arguing that everything in this country is going to be fixed soon because we've secured $10 trillion in funding from Saudi Arabia or whatever? Was it Mike Johnson arguing that? The line like they unironically think that another country is going to invest like a third of the American GDP into our country. Maybe I'm getting a little numb to it, but the scale of the lies has grown so remarkably. Like, you know, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs is several orders of magnitude less significant than stuff like Mike Johnson arguing that the new budget bill isn't deficitatory, right? Like we've gone from race war lying to we're just pretending the budget doesn't exist lying. I don't know.
Men playing in women's sports and so much more, but they were saying the hottest country anywhere in the world. And then I played that little clip because that was one person who's respected, or two people, because Joe was in that one too. Joe's a good man, but that was one group of people saying something about the success of what we've done over the last 4 months. They cannot believe it. In the one case, they said they've never seen anything like it as long as they've been doing what they've been doing. They've been doing it for a long time. So I want to thank Elon for helping. And again, you know, the United States right now is the hottest country anywhere in the world. There's no country as hot. And we're doing really well. We came, when I left, we had no wars, we had no problems. We defeated ISIS, we rebuilt our military, and we had no inflation. And when I came back, we had a lot of inflation. We had wars all over the place. We had the embarrassment in Afghanistan where we gave up billions and billions of dollars of military equipment, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, I believe. I believe that strongly. We have Russia with Ukraine. We had the attack on Israel in October, the horrible attack, October 7th. Horrible, horrible attack. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And now we have something where we're really...
I think I'm going to get ahead a little bit to the press conference part of the press conference because, you know, we get it.
All time, because you have somebody operating it all day, and that's statements to the president. I understand he signed almost everything with an auto pen. It's a very dangerous thing. It really means you're not president. Whoever operated the auto pen, and we think we know who that is.
George Soros?
It was actually more than one person.
Oh.
But that's without...
You said just now that you look forward to being a friend and advisor to the president. So do you expect to continue advising the president and Doge informally, or are you going to sort of shift your focus entirely to your companies?
Well, I expect to continue to provide advice whenever the president would like advice.
I hope so.
I mean, I expect to remain a friend and an advisor, and certainly if there's anything the president wants me to do, I'm at the president's service.
Mr. Musk, on Doge, you said that there was $1 trillion promise for cuts from Doge.
Yes, I think we do expect over time to achieve the $1 trillion.
But what have you found in your time?
The Doge cuts actually have increased the government spending because due to efficiency losses from randomly firing people and then having to rehire them, like paying for their salaries while they were fired. So they had like paid leaves essentially, but then like having to, and then the loss in productivity due to all these weird arbitrary changes. All of these are probably going to end up costing multiple times more than the marginal tens of billions saved by the cuts. Really, it's USA that's the main victim of the cuts, which, you know, the victims of which I'm sure are already well into the thousands.
Time here was the biggest roadblock to getting those cuts. Was it the cabinet, or was it Congress, or something else? What was the biggest roadblock from your work?
Ooh, she's trying to bait Elon into criticizing Trump's bill in front of Trump.
It's mostly just a lot of hard work. It's really not any one person or Congress. It's going through really millions of line items and saying just each one of them makes sense, what does not make sense. Obviously, at times when you cut expenses, those who are receiving the money, whether they're receiving that money legitimately or not, they do complain. And you're not going to hear someone confessing that they received money inappropriately. Never. They're going to always say that they received money appropriately for an important cause. Naturally, that's what you'd expect. So we just have to. It's just a lot of work going through the vast expenses of the federal government and just really asking questions. What's this money for? Are you sure it's actually being used well? Many times we can't even find anyone who defends it. So for a lot of the expenses, there is actually no defender at all. And then we have to just work through the process of stopping the spending.
Why is he doing that with his hands? I genuinely think at some point he got it in his head that smart people hold their hands like that.
Where there's often literally no defender. Nobody even knows why the money's being spent. It's truly absurd. I mean, we find situations where there are
yeah, it's also being high. What is this clip, dude? Holy shit, the angle on this.
Well, it's a very sad case. It's a case we win. We can't lose that case because we have the right to make grants.
Jesus Christ.
But I don't think Harvard's been acting very nicely. I think Columbia wants to get to the bottom of the problem. They've acted
oh my
well. And there are other
God.
institutions too, they're acting, but Harvard's trying to be a big shot. And all that happens is every 3 days we find another 100.
This is probably what the Nazis would have looked like, the high command. If we just like had, if we had cameras on them, I imagine like a lot of their meetings, they would have been looking like this, which is pretty funny to think about.
Millions of software licenses with 0 people using them. 0. Exactly. This is the quizzical expression. You're like, surely, if there's millions of software licenses, someone should be using them. No, and then we've got to go through the process of saying, okay, look, if no one's using the software, we need to terminate this software license agreement. That's everywhere in the government, by the way.
Mr. Musk, what do you think would be easier, colonizing Mars or making the government efficient?
It's a tough call, but I think colonizing Mars and making life multi-planetary is harder. And as I said, we do expect to achieve over time.
Hitler trying to sit still at the Olympics. Oh yeah, I remember that one. I don't need the music. Yeah, I remember this one, the classic. Not that the degeneracy on display ever seems to matter to the people who are otherwise so concerned with like the deleterious effects that like drug-addled black people or whatever have in society. They don't really give a shit. What if he's just stimming? Have you considered that he might have had the tism?
The $1 trillion of savings. We can't do it in like a few months, but if you say by I think the official end of Doge, which the president may choose to extend, is the middle of next year. Say by the middle of next year, with the support of the president and Congress, could we achieve $1 trillion of savings? I think so. We're on track to do so.
Do you have faith that Congress is going to?
Thank you, Mr. President. You had mentioned earlier in the week that Doge had become a whipping boy, and as the president mentioned, you went through a lot to go through this process. Yeah. Was it worth it for you, and what would you change?
Yes, so what we found was happening was that if there were any cuts anywhere, then people would assume that was done by Doge. And so we became like essentially the Doge boogeyman, where if so any cut anywhere would.
He's referring to the fact that the FAA was having staffing shortages, which were attributed to be one of the causes for all of those airplane accidents that were happening. The FAA was having shortages that went back like a while, so he's essentially complaining that Doge took the hit for that, even though those problems were present before he was even in power.
Would be ascribed to Doge.
Which is true.
A friend of mine's daughter, who's at law school at Georgetown, thought that Doge had cut the Senate, the internships, the legal internships for the Senate, and we have nothing to do with that. So if they have been cut, it's not to do with us, just as an example. So, it just became a bit ridiculous where any cut anywhere was somehow Doge, including things that made no sense, and we would agree made no sense. There are many things that occur in the government because it's the banal evil of bureaucracy. It's sort of the frankly largely uncaring nature of bureaucracy. It's as the great Milton Friedman said, money is spent most poorly when it is someone else's money being spent on people you don't know, and that's how federal spending is. And then you can't really even blame the individuals because the way the government works is complaint minimization. So when you do try to, when someone within the government tries to stop money being spent, there's usually someone that complains. And then their manager will say it's not worth the trouble, just pay it anyway.
Can someone please translate? It doesn't, it's incoherent, it doesn't mean anything. He's not literate, he's low IQ, don't worry about it. We can skip ahead.
That happens over and over again.
So was it
his life has been amazing. I'm actually in default. and we don't ever want to have a country in default. You know, I'll tell you, a certain senator, Elizabeth Warren, said that she would never, ever allow a default on our debt. She would never let it happen, and she would like to get rid of the debt ceiling, what's called the debt ceiling. I call it the debt extension because we really need an extension, that she'd like to see that gotten rid of. And there are many people that agree. Many Democrats agree with that. But we gave that through, and you know, I don't want to say an error. He did it well-meaning. They gave that to us. It was a Democrat problem just before the election. Would have had a huge impact on the election. And to our benefit, we won anyway, but to our benefit. But felt that really for the good of the country, we should extend that. But Elizabeth Warren and various other people would like to see that. Her whole career, she wanted to see it terminated, gotten rid of.
It's not even true. There was reports Elon was feuding with the head of the FAA because he was trying to do cuts there too. Oh, no, he was, but he wasn't success. Like, he didn't cause the shortages that contributed to those crashes, but he did want to make it worse. That is true.
Being voted on every 5 years or 10 years. And the reason was because it's so catastrophic for our country. And I always agreed with her. That was one thing I agreed with her on. Now, I haven't spoken to her, but I would say that if you asked her that question now, she'd say, no, it's their problem. But it's a very unfortunate situation. It's a very unfair situation. And she happened to be right on that. It should be gotten rid of, or it should simply be extended. But that's one of the things that gets taken care of in this bill. That automatically gets extended for a 4-year period. And it should be. But I agree with Elizabeth Warren on that. I think you should get rid of it. It's too catastrophic. Yeah, please, go ahead.
What message do you like to send to international students? Are they still welcomed to study in the United States? And one question for Mr. Musk.
To students? Well, we want to have great students here. We just don't want students that are causing trouble. We want to have students. I want to have foreign students. I think Harvard, you know, it's close to 31%. That's a lot. Our country's given $5 billion plus to Harvard over a short period of time. Nobody knew that. We found that out. I wouldn't say that was a Doge thing, but we found that out over a period of time. That was sort of a Trump thing. We ended up in litigation for other reasons because they're very anti-Semitic. And in finding out and in going through the books, we found out that the country gave them $5 billion plus, much more than that, actually. And we're having it out with them, and let's see what happens. I think we have a very good, well, it's a very sad case. It's a case we win. We can't lose that case because we have the right to make grants. We're not going to make any grants like that. But
I'm sorry.
I feel so sorry because he's vicious. What he did with his political opponent.
It needs to stop.
Rapidly, or again, we're not going to have a.
You know what I think one of the biggest frustrations is? With regard to like covering all of this, politically being aware of it, it's the bizarre permanent anticlimax because everyone is stupid and nobody knows what's going on and nobody actually believes what they pretend to believe. So you'll have what seems like it should be a big narrative conclusion of Elon getting disillusioned, getting left out of the Trump administration, and then kind of turning on them and being grumpy about it. But as it turns out, like, it's actually mutually beneficial for them to just work past that in the form of not telling Trump that Elon criticized him, and Elon will just go over there and brag about his accomplishments anyway, because like, why wouldn't he? There's not actually any narrative through line. It's actually just like, yeah, nothing matters, I guess, like forever. Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand how anyone can listen to him. Elon, I assume you mean? Well, there's a reason why his popularity is lower than Trump's.